Open a channel.
Open a channel.
Open a channel.
Open a channel.
Open a channel to all decks.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Open Channel, which is our bi-monthly discussion about things that are offshoots of Trek, other IPs that we love to talk about. And to do that today, we have none other than the Discussing Trek host, Jeremy Barrow. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing well, dude. I'm doing well. I like to start these off by asking the question, what got you into Star Trek? Just to start things off, to just a little baseline here. Just a little baseline.
I got into Star Trek when I finished Stargate, and I was looking for something else to get into. So Stargate, pardon the pun, was my gateway to Star Trek.
See what you did there. So you transitioned into something better, is what you're saying.
I transitioned into something different.
Oh, okay. And ironically enough, maybe we need those Stargates in Star Trek Discovery Season 3, possibly, from what we've seen from the trailer.
I don't know about that. I kind of want to keep them separate, but I'm kind of interested to see where they go with that.
All right. Well, I do call you the Stargate historian. So tell me, sir, what got you into Stargate?
Stargate Atlantis is the one that I started watching. That's been my Stargate show. The characters were, as we've already discussed earlier, it's serious and funny. The characters are fun, and they can be kind of one dimensional, but they're just fun. It's just good fun. And it's happening now as opposed to in the future or in a galaxy far, far away. It's it's more relatable because it's Earth now, space now.
Yeah. No, 100%. That's one of the things I loved about Stargate. And did you say you got into Atlantis first?
Yes. Yeah, Atlantis was the first one that I really got into.
And ironically enough, that's the same one that I got into first. And for me, like you just said, one of the things I really loved about it, as opposed to Star Trek or Star Wars, it's that it's now. Shep has a freaking DS on an episode sitting in sickbay one time. So,
right.
I love that it's in the current time frame. That's what makes Stargate really, really special to me. So, as Star Trek was in the 90s, with the myriad of shows and maybe at its peak, do you think we got to a similar place with Stargate in the early aughts?
I think so. I think it, and I hate to put it this way, I think it kind of ran its course. I think they kind of pushed it as far as they could without going overboard, without going silly, without going just mind-numbing, why am I watching this? So I think they kind of wrapped it up as best they could.
Yeah, which is funny because it makes me sad. That makes me sad because for me, and let me just explain to somebody that might be listening that don't know what Stargate is, or a lot about Stargate. As Trek was in the late 80s, 90s, I felt like Stargate was similar because you had SG-1, you had Atlantis, and you had Universe, kind of running over each other, characters popping in each of the different series. And to me, for what it's worth, Star Trek kind of did it first with that universe, and the Stargate universe was right behind them with having that cohesiveness, having, oh man, I loved Richard Dean Anderson so much. He's so great, man. He's so great. And whenever he'd pop up in Atlantis or in Universe, it always made my day, man. It always made my day.
See, I still can't get through him as MacGyver. That to me, that he'll always be MacGyver.
That's why I loved it so much, man. I'm because I'm a kid of the 80s.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, definitely.
So seeing Richard Dean Anderson pop up in Stargate, hey, or being pretty much the man from Stargate, just great stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah.
So you said that you said that Atlantis was your favorite series. So why did that one pique your interest more?
Because that's the one that a friend of mine left his DVD collection at my house for me to watch.
Okay, fair enough.
So that's why I started watching it, and I think he left like season 1, and then I went to the store and I bought season 2, and then season 3. You know, I just, you know, as I burned through the seasons, I just kept buying the next one until I was through. And then that's about the time I think I was discussing with Jonathan that, you know, I watched all of Atlantis and I need something else to watch, and he kind of pushed me towards Star Trek.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Now, did you ever? Well, let's go back a little bit. Let's kind of work our way up. What about the movies? Did you really? Well, the movie. Did you really like the Stargate movie?
I did.
Starring.
I enjoyed it.
Who was it starring again?
James Spader, Kurt Russell.
Oh, James Spader looked like he looked so different. He looked like Bill Gates or something.
Man. But he still has that voice. I love his voice. I love to hear him talk, especially like in the Blacklist now, or, you know, he's got that commanding voice that you just got to listen to.
Yeah. And who was playing Jack O'Neill again?
That was Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? For me, I went back and saw the movie like way after I had been watching the series, and it just felt so foreign. It felt so weird to me.
Yeah.
I was kind of happy to see that big cinematic take because to me it felt like something like Dune or something. You know, it felt like big budget and huge, but it was just weird seeing those different actors play those characters. But you know, it did lay the groundwork for what we got in SG-1 and so forth.
Right. And then, you know, they did SG-1. Then there was Atlantis, and then there was actually a cartoon series called Stargate Infinity, which I've never seen. Which I, from what I understand, had almost nothing to do with, you know, Star Trek or Stargate canon.
Now
we got Universe.
Yeah, I did not know they had a cartoon. So that's pretty.
It didn't last for obvious reasons. It didn't last for long.
So I have to ask you, you know, Stargate SG-1 started in 1997 and ran for 10 seasons. Mm-hmm. Have you seen all of Stargate SG-1?
I have not. I really haven't seen a whole lot of it. I've seen like a few episodes here or there. No, don't start. I've seen a few episodes here or there, and it was good. But, you know, once I got into Atlantis, that was just kind of, it's kind of like, you know, like my love of Star Trek Voyager. Mm-hmm. You know, because my love for Voyager is kind of difficult for me to go back and watch The Next Generation because it's not Voyager, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And to me, like, if you look on the whole, like, I think Voyager and Atlantis is kind of similar in the sense that they're off. Because I think Atlantis was the farthest at the time, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, that's a different galaxy.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Yeah.
So it was kind of a similar premise, and actually similar. There's several crossover actors.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll get into that in just a second. But let me roll back to SG-1 for just a minute. I will say I have seen all 10 seasons. I was watching it when Netflix was sending the DVDs. So,
man, that's been a minute.
Imagine. I think most of it was streaming, but I think there may have been a season or two I had to get on the DVD. That's when I was going into heavy sci. Man, I was trying to consume all the sci-fi I could get. I was freaking. I watched all of Sliders. I got all the CDs for those, all the DVDs for those. But yeah, I watched every episode of SG-1. Man, loved it. It's interesting. It's interesting that you have the original cast of Christopher Judge, Amanda Tapping, Richard Dean Anderson, Michael Shanks. But then I think was it Michael Shanks left and Richard Dean Anderson left, and then you had the Farscape crew. Brent Browler? Brent Browler, I think that's his name. You had him and Claudia, I can't remember her last name, from Farscape come in, and in the last few seasons they were the crew, and I love them as well because I was a huge Farscape fan as well. I loved it even more when like my Farscape crew came on and took over like the last few seasons. So again, like we talked about, we talked about the show being in current times. And another thing I really liked about Stargate is the fact that all of the lore is kind of based on Egyptian gods.
Egyptian mythology.
Yeah, Egyptian mythology. So I loved how they played in all that. To me, the best sci-fi is when you take a concept that we already know and kind of twist it and make it make sense.
Yes.
And that's one of the things I really love. Really love.
I love stuff like that, which is why I think it was easy for me to get into to Atlantis and Stargate, because they took existing lore.
Yeah.
And futurized it. They brought it to us.
Yeah. So you mentioned some of the actors from Star Trek making the cross over into Stargate, or a few of them anyway. Who pray tell may have made the transition over to this blasphemous
Well, now keep in mind that Atlantis took place. It filmed after Voyager, so all the Star Trek was done at that point.
Yeah, true enough. Fair enough.
But Colm Meaney, who played Miles O'Brien, played the leader of the Janai.
Was it really
farming community? Yeah.
Was he in makeup?
No,
I don't remember seeing it. Oh my God, I gotta go back and watch now. Wow, I did not realize that. That is awesome.
He did a couple of episodes of that. He did, and of course, one of my favorite character actors of all time, and not just because of Voyager, not just because of Stargate, but I've seen him in so much other stuff. Robert Picardo, who played the EMH in Voyager and Mr. Woosley in Stargate and various other things. He came aboard the final season as a regular cast member, and it's just made my heart happy.
Yeah, he was amazing. He was amazing. He was the same funny self. In many ways, he kind of played the same character same mannerisms.
The same mannerisms.
Yeah, he definitely had a different role, but to me, he had a similar mannerism, which is, I guess, just who that actor is. But yeah, seeing Robert Picardo was awesome. Wasn't he like the or in charge of Atlantis for a minute?
He was the leader of the expedition for the final season. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I want to say Trent Connor.
Yeah, he was in there too. He played one of the main villains, Michael Kenmore, I think it was his name.
Yeah, that was
one of the
amazing
wraith human hybrids.
Yeah,
not sure how to explain that.
Yeah, that was freaking cool. Man, one of my favorite characters. We're gonna move on, but one of my favorite characters in all of Stargate and all of sci-fi is Rodney McCrae.
Oh, I love McKay.
Oh, it's McKay, right? It's been a year since I said Rodney McKay. So good, man. I want to see him in Star Trek. Please cast this actor. He is so good. He actually has a YouTube channel now that I follow because he does like experiments and stuff with his son.
Really?
They do like Minecraft and Lego. They do all kind of weird stuff. But yeah, I love that actor, man. He's great. He's great.
I follow him on Twitter, and I think one of his most recent posts, somebody tried to take a bike off of his porch, and he, of course, had the video of it, and he blasted him all over Twitter, which was hilarious because he deserved it. If you're going to steal something like that, you deserve it. But, just stuff like that is what he almost no filter.
Oh, and I guess we can owe Stargate for Aquaman getting famous. Although I guess he was in Baywatch first. What's the guy's name? I can't remember his name. Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was Ronan Dax.
Yeah, he's freaking amazing in that show too, man.
Oh man, great. Yeah.
So I have to ask you, how do you feel about when the show moved over to Stargate Universe, where it was more similar to Star Trek? They were on a ship with this ancient gate. That they did figure out how to use it. Well, I think they first tapped into the gate to get on the ship. Yeah. And then that's kind of like where the show took off from there. They were trying to figure out how the gate worked and everything. I thought this show was amazing. It ended way too soon.
So good. I like the fact that it was much darker.
Yes. Yes.
And it was, I love Atlantis. I love SG-1, but there's always I don't want to say a cartoonish feeling to it, but it's very light. It's very, it's not very heavy handed at all. This was very heavy handed. This was, there's consequences, like dire consequences for their actions.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that.
And I think ultimately, I think Stargate kind of suffered from the same thing maybe Star Trek did. From 87 till when the Enterprise in 2003 or something like that.
Franchise fatigue. It was just
franchise fatigue, which makes me weary of all of this stuff that they're doing now, especially if it's not the greatest. So let's just hope that now with Trek it's not too heavy handed and too just too much out there where people are just gonna kind of tune out,
Well, they tried, and bless their hearts, this Stargate Origins. Catherine is about if you remember the movie, the lady who brought James Spader's character in to decipher the Stargate. So the Origins kind of showed what happens after that. They did one of her adventures through the gate, and it was just so awful. So awful. It was just and Michael Trader, Trip was in it as well.
Oh.
And it was I felt bad for him because he should know better. But it was like the acting was horrible, the sets were horrible. It was just like they got a kid to paint the background and
oh my God.
It was
one
bad.
Of those internet things. It was made for the internet.
It was, and I see where it was just like a series of like 15-minute episodes, and they finally just condensed it all into like a movie. And don't waste your time unless you just absolutely want to see something like that. I would not waste your time. So enjoy what we already have.
Who owns Stargate right now? Do we know?
MGM. I believe it's an MGM property.
And does MGM have a streaming? Who owns MGM? Is it a bigger property that owns MGM?
I'm not 100% certain.
Because I think it's prime time for somebody to pick that up. Because we're right in this era now where all of these streaming services are looking for a tentpole property to push their service. And man, I think Stargate could be huge on one of these different services,
and it's one of those, if it's done right. I mean, they tried, because I think it was on the MGM streaming service that they put this on. And it was, like I said, it was just an abysmal experience. I'm glad I didn't actually pay for the full thing I rented off of Google Play.
Gotcha.
$5. So I didn't feel horrible about spending that kind of money on. I'm glad I didn't shell out the money before when it was like $100 a year for their service. But I agree with you, but it's one of those that it has to be done right, or you'd run the risk of doing Origins again.
Yeah. I just really feel it's time, because especially seeing what even Amazon has done with The Expanse, how they've made that world so realized and amazing. I just think the right company with enough money can make something really special. And I think you can, with Stargate, you can pretty much do what you want and not really hurt canon that bad. Because it doesn't really have the same ingrained overall philosophy, I think, as maybe a Star Trek does, or even a Star Wars.
Right. I was going to say, it's not like you don't have I don't want to say rabid fan base of Star Wars or Star Trek, but you have that. You can mold it more to what you want it to be.
Yeah.
You can kind of branch out into the Greek mythology or Roman mythology.
Ooh.
You can go from there. You're not limited to what has been set in stone already.
Yeah. Cool beans, man. Well, thank you for having this conversation about Stargate with me, man. I know you're a huge fan, and so am I. You really got me excited to maybe go back and watch some more of it, man.
Tell you the best episode is and I'm trying to remember the name of it. I can't, but it's a McKay episode that has Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I'm sure I'm horrible.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson,
and Scott Foley, and it's just
really
very sciencey episode. I'm not sure if the science is accurate. I'm by no means a physicist, but the science is fun. It's a good fun episode. You got all these famous scientists in there playing themselves.
Where's Stargate streaming right now? If the people want to watch
Hulu.
Stargate,
I know it's on Hulu.
All right.
I don't know. I think it might be on Amazon Prime. I know it's not on Netflix. I think the movie might be on Netflix, but the series itself, I think, is on Hulu and Amazon.
Cool beans.
And I know that at one point there was talk of a continuation of the movies with like James Spader and Kurt Russell taking place like 20 years later, however many years later it actually is from that movie.
See, that in that case, you would need canon to count,
Yes.
Because I wouldn't want them to dispense of everything that happened in the show and just said, we're doing like number 2 to the movie.
Right. Well, it's almost, you can almost treat it, I guess, like a Kelvin universe type.
Yeah,
the movies are set in one universe, and the shows are their own separate entity.
True. Yeah, you definitely.
I could accept that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we need to make that happen.
We do. Now, if I just had a couple $1 million, I can go out there and take care of that for us.
A couple million? We need much more than that. A couple $100 million.
Man, you gotta start small. Baby steps.
That's what they did with that webisode show. They started small.
They are very small.
All right, man. We're going to wrap it up. Again, you can watch Stargate, I guess whatever's available on Hulu right now. And I plan on checking it out because I really missed the show, man. So
I'm probably going to go home and watch a couple of episodes at least.
Comfort food, man. Is there anything else you want to shout out before we wrap this thing up, man?
I do want to say, because my middle child, who I love dearly, we have this argument almost every time we watch it about which is quicker, hyperspeed or light speed. And Stargate liked hyperspeed, not Star Wars, because there's 2 different hyperspeeds.
Yeah.
But the answer is Stargate, because they can go between galaxies in a month. They're not 70 years across one galaxy. So I'm just throwing it out there.
I have to do the science on the research on that one. I never pondered that question. Well, when you got a Stargate, do you really care about hyperspeed?
It takes a lot of power to power that up, though, especially going to Earth, especially going across the galaxy.
That's why you have to be in the Cheyenne Mountains or whatever.
That's for secrecy. That's because the government wants to keep it. That has nothing to do with power.
Oh, man. I'm going to give a shout out. My shout out for this is going to be, check out Farscape. I know it's not for everybody, but it's actually done by the puppeteers and the costumes and stuff on that show is done by the Henson Company. I think it's Jim Henson's son is the one that was over it, but this was like in the early house as well. Ben Browder is freaking amazing in that. It comes off as kind of cheesy at first, but it ended up being one of my favorite shows after slogging through all of the episodes. But if you've never seen Farscape, check it out. I think it's a really fun
check it out, because I've never, because I think Farscape was before I started getting into really like sci-fi, like the episodic, adventures and such.
Yeah, you're probably gonna be like, "What the f?" when it first starts. But it's one of my favorites, man. Yeah, we're going to end on that. Thank you all for joining, and thank you for joining as well, Jeremy. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys next time.
Relativity.
Climb aboard the perilous journey of one man attempting to reach a distant world and the woman on Earth who battles endlessly to keep him alive.
Mission Control, was that sound what I think it was?
We're not sure yet, but we know it can't be good.
Join the thousands of science fiction adventure fans who have discovered Relativity at relativitypodcast.com.
Relativity.